Just say hello. Thank you for joining the San Diego ATD chapter's Get Good with Articulate Storyline. I am John Morley. I'm an instructional designer and external consultant. So if I can help you with a project, I am putting my email address into the chat window. Okay, that's me. Who are you? If you would be so kind, take a moment to enter your name into the chat window along with where you're logging in from. And if you'd like to network with other participants, including your email address, would make that a whole lot easier. Now for a word from our sponsor. April 2nd, ISPI is going to bring us Michelle Moreno talking about strategic storytelling. And this will, as the description says, this will help you set hearts on fire for your idea, product, or mission. And who wouldn't want to set hearts on fire? That sounds good. Following that Friday, as the first Friday of every month, we have the roundtable that is sponsored by both the ATD San Diego and ISPI. We discuss a article. In this case, it's an article on neuroscience about memory, and it would be nice to have our learners remember all the things that we tried to get into their brains. And then next month, the third Thursday, we are honored to have Jody Sansoni, who is online with us this evening. She is, if you're familiar with the e-learning challenges, she rises to every challenge and has been at the top of the leaderboard for years and years now. So I am,
and years and years. It's like, I'm guessing you get old enough, like you hang out enough, like you're at the top of something. So
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I am unworthy. Joining me this evening is Erwin Jankovic, who is previously a university psychology professor who then transitioned into the business world, including working with Boeing, where he addressed a wide range of organizational, customer, process, and people issues. He then addressed the similar issues at the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, entirety of Southern California. So if anybody in this area had a drink of water or other water-related activities in the past, you can thank Erwin while you're online tonight. At least he was partially responsible for providing that water. And I am pleased to have him supporting our technology this evening. Erwin, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. I told John I would mention that many years ago when I was running a training group, we used Articulate to deliver enterprise level briefings to the whole organization on learnings. And we even used it to try to move learning out of the classroom to the place where people do the work. And it was very helpful for that. Thank you, John. Nice
okay, well, thank you. Now let's see if I can share my screen again. Last month, I was honored to be chosen as a speaker at the ATD Tech Knowledge Conference. This is my title slide, and any live presentation is now expected to have some live visual speaker support. The default for doing so is PowerPoint. You may have heard of it. To its credit, PowerPoint works with presentation remote control out of the box. So why not just use PowerPoint? I'm glad you asked, because I needed to show work I had done in Storyline as examples of what I was suggesting. In your work, you may have classroom trainers who want to be able to use what you developed in Storyline the same way that they've used PowerPoint, or anyone in your organization may ask you to prepare speaker support using Storyline. Could be easier for you. They could need the functionality available in Storyline. So shouldn't Storyline have a very easy way to click a button and export Storyline into PowerPoint? The operative word here is should, and the answer is no. It doesn't. In Articulate's defense, there's a lot of stuff in Storyline that just won't move over to PowerPoint. PowerPoint just can't handle it, such as a lot of the examples I will show in my presentation. If you are clicking along, now is a good time to fire up Storyline and just rough in 3 slides. They don't need to be any more than content just to tell them apart. Do a little demonstration here. In the upper left, go to New Project, and then wait for a moment while we get a new project going. You don't need anything more on these slides than just something to differentiate among them. So I will go up to Insert and go over here to Text Box, and then I'll just put the number 1 in here. 1, make that a little bit larger. Okay, then I'll click on the left panel here. I'm going to click Duplicate, make 3 of them, and then change the numbers. So that will be number 1, this will be number 2, and this will be number 3. To use Storyline as a speaker support, you would publish it. Don't do it now, but you would publish to the web here. What that does, it is essentially creates a website that you can run on any server or from your own computer. Don't do it yet. We'll be talking about that later. Doing that kind of assumes that the user is sitting at a computer and using a mouse, which is kind of hard to do if you're walking around in front of a room trying to display a little bit more energy than if you were hiding behind a lectern. And quite frankly, I lack the hand-eye coordination and confidence to push a cursor around the screen while also trying to talk to an audience or doing what I'm doing right now. So let's take a look at how a presentation remote works. So in simplest terms, the keys on the remote are mapped to keys on the keyboard. The default for PowerPoint, followed by the makers of presentation remotes, is page down for the next slide and page up for the previous slide. So I program my visual support and Storyline to use that. Open the published Storyline project on the Macintosh computer I'd be using, and it worked fine when I was using the keyboard, but it would not work with the remote. So I assume that it was a Macintosh versus Windows issue. So several hours of experimentation, puzzlement, and buying a new remote control, because the remote I had was several years old, and I just figured it was worn out and I needed a new remote, and still did not work. By this time, I had already posted a query to Articulate's eLearning Heroes, which is a fabulous service, but I did not get a reply in time for the presentation. On my return, a reply from the fabulous Suzanne Morris, who I thought was going to be with us this evening, but I don't see her in the list of attendees here. She replied to my plea for help and suggested that when creating the trigger, instead of pressing the key on the keyboard to indicate the trigger key, I press a key on the remote, also stating that this is going to program the trigger to be right and left arrow keys. And that works. On further experimenting, I discovered that this is not a Mac versus Windows thing, but it's a Storyline that seems to be out of step with the rest of the world. This is what the rest of the world looks at page up and page down, and then Storyline uses the arrow keys. And to further deepen this mystery, PowerPoint and the rest of the world also will respond to the arrow keys, where in Storyline, it works with the remote only with the arrow keys, although, as I said earlier, it works on the keyboard, pressing page up and page down. So let's see how to do this. Going back to the new project in Storyline, let's create a trigger here. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, we'll click a new trigger. And triggers ask 3 things, basically. Do what, when, and with what. Let's see if I can make that a little larger. There we go. Do what, jump to a slide. That's what we want to do. Go to the next slide. When a user clicks, and with what, that would be when user, not when user clicks, when user presses I'm not going to be able to do this with the thing. There is such a large selection of stuff here you can click on. User presses a key. So we're going to do what? Jump to a slide, next slide. When the user presses, and I am holding a remote in my hand and I'm pressing the big button and it enters the word right here. So that is all it takes. And you could do this, you could copy and paste this and put it in all three of the slides. But wouldn't it be a lot easier if you went up here and copied this thing, copy the trigger, went over to the click the view tab, and then went to the slide master, open up the slide master, and copied this. So now this should work on all of the slides. Oh, let's do one more thing on the. We want to go backward, be able to go backward as well as forward. So I'll click view again, go to slide master, go to the triggers. I'll duplicate that trigger. Now open it up and say we want to go to the previous slide. And now I'm clicking on right, and I hold in my hand a remote control, and I'm pressing the little button on the bottom left. There we go. Now let's see what happens. We'll go up to preview, and we are watching the little progress button go across. And now I am pressing the big button and we go forward, pressing the big button again. Now I'm pressing the little button and going back. So that seems to work. We're going through there. Okay. That was a good start for my presentation.
Can I ask you a question about those triggers?
Please do.
Because I've never done that. So if you could go back and open it up, it was jump to the next slide when the user presses a key, and then it had like another condition on it, like after something. Could you open it up? I didn't understand like what the after part was or why that was necessary.
That's weird. I have never understood that because
I've never done this. So like
yeah, it says after clicking on this slide, the options for that are all of the objects that are on a slide, and that by default is there. I don't know why it's there, but it seems to work. So I haven't questioned it further.
Okay. Yeah, because it looked like it just automatically, and I think the other one of the first one you did said after clicking on, I think it said the text box or something, or
no, both of them say this slide.
I thought it said one was a text box. I just still didn't. Oh, you're on the master. I think it was when you put the first one on the first slide.
Let's take a look at that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do ask questions as we go along. I would much rather this have it be a discussion rather than a. Okay,
yeah, so the top. Thanks. Yeah, Daniel saw it too. So yeah, see right there. I was just that wouldn't be like if I were working on it, I'd think like, oh, that's not. Why is that? So it just automatically filled that.
Yeah, it looks as if it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Because this, as you notice, it says text box, but there we go.
So all you're trying to do is get Storyline to respond like a clicker would respond in PowerPoint. So you can wander on the stage and you're not tethered to it, right? You're not tethered to the keyboard.
Exactly. So I am, as I speak here, I am pushing the up button, and I'm supposed to demo this in Storyline now, and I've already done that. So that was just a start for me, really, because there are number of things that I wanted to do during my presentation that would require moving a cursor around the screen, and I didn't necessarily want to do that. So I set up these hotkeys, and since I was using this as I knew I wouldn't be using the keyboard to enter text, so I was free to reassign those keys to these things. For example, here is a clickable object. We are not only allowing the user to open the reference material they would be using on the job. In part of conscientious training is training the learner how to use the job aids that will be available to them. So as I showed here, I should be able to press H, and oops, I have to click on that first. I did set this up so they would work, and now for some reason I am not able to get my hotkey. Well, let's see if this works. I also set up a submit, as it says here. I should be able to press the up arrow key to submit a answer, pressing the big button again. So I'll type an answer in here, colon equal, and then I'm pressing the up arrow key, and there's the feedback. Now when I press the C key, that closes that, and I go on to the next subject I'm talking about this evening. Any questions about using the remote control? Has anybody else used this? And does anybody know why I ran into that discrepancy between the up and down arrows, the arrows, and the page up, page down? It remains a mystery to me, but at least I know what to do to make it work now.
I've once used this before, or used in a storyline file as kind of as a PowerPoint for presentation, and I didn't need to do any extra. I just used the next command. It might have been my remote, but I was just able to hit next, and it would go next, 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 and it'd be fine. And I can go back and forth just like it was a PowerPoint. The only difference was that any animations wouldn't work. I could not get animations like I would have like text animate on screen. That would not work. I'd have to create a slide for revealed text information, and doing it that way would work just fine. And I could do transitions between slides, but the animations on a single slide, because I would normally do that in a PowerPoint where I click it and then an animation would pop up to reveal new information I was speaking about. That won't work in Storyline.
Yeah, that's real curious because that animation is built into the slide itself. It's not a function of any interactivity with the user, is it?
Well, yes, it would work, but I wanted it to be triggerable by
right.
Yeah. There was no like click, like I couldn't get the trigger to work where it was like click next and the animation will go. I just ended up creating a separate slide, and so like a slide deck that was normally 10 slides, but each slide had like 5 animations on it, would suddenly turn into a 50 slide deck. But that might have just been me taking some shortcuts and like, I don't want to program in the triggers, just want to get it done. But imagine your way of programming in a trigger for a press event that's then keyed to something on the keyboard, which then reacts to the clicker. That'll probably work where the animations would function.
Let me jump ahead to something here to show what might work according to what you said. This is the speaker's board I'm using this evening. Am I in fact showing my screen now?
Yep.
It should say, and never manually format. The way I have this set up is, I followed my own advice to do this in the master slide, so I don't have to reveal what's going on there yet, do I? Okay, here, see, maybe I can make that a little bit low. Well, I have a variable set up. No, excuse me.
I don't know about y'all, but that always trips me up, having triggers in master slides. I mean, it's a good practice if you're familiar with it, but oh my gosh, that could trip you up.
Okay, here we go. What's happening here is that when I said I have two images here. The top line, this is top text bottom, text top, and then I set the text bottom to be hidden. the state is hidden when it first appears. And then I have this trigger here that when I press advance, when the user presses the advance button, essentially the right, this makes that normal. And then I have this count, this variable that I count every time that right or advance is clicked. We jump to the next slide when the right arrow, essentially next, is pressed only if the count number is above 1. So the way this works is, I'm going to use my remote here, see if this is continuing to work. Or I could be pressing the keys. Okay, so now we see only this first line of text. I am pressing the go button. Now we're seeing the second line, and now I'm pressing this again, and it would take us to the next slide. So do you what you were talking about, do you think that would work if you did something of that nature?
John, in PowerPoint, when you do an animation, you have to you can literally select a sub element in the screen and put it in a flow of animation steps. So each time you advance the clicker, it moves to whatever you pre-programmed for those elements, not just the global slide.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm aware of that, but I was kind of stuck with using this one button. So I was trying to figure out how I could use the button rather than taking advantage of what you just discussed. But yeah, you are absolutely right about that. But here is text styles. Styles for formatting text in Storyline are similar to the styles in Microsoft Word in several ways, including that they are often underused or even not used at all. So a quick story here about my time at Kaiser Permanente. When I started, they had a whole library of learning support and documentation based on Microsoft Word templates, which were very poorly designed. A whole big swirl around the format falling apart, a lot of problems with these the documentation, everything based on their templates. And not to brag, but for over a decade, I marketed a set of Word templates called ScriptWorks for video script writing and screenwriting, eventually used by thousands of writers around the world, not the least of whom were the entire writing staff at Saturday Night Live. So at Kaiser, I wanted to help them. So there was a prayer meeting that included the training department management, and like a good instructional designer, I wanted to first understand how much previous knowledge my audience had. So I asked, well, how familiar are you with Microsoft Word? And one of the ladies said, oh, I know everything. I know all about Microsoft Word. I've been using it for years. Oh, great. So I have somebody who is up to speed on this, and we're able to get down to the real technology and learn how to do things. So I asked, how do you use styles? And she said, what are styles? Okay, using Microsoft Word without using styles is kind of like using a smartphone and not bothering to use all those little apps that are so annoying, and you just don't have time to learn all that silly technology. So you're going to just use the phone to make phone calls and enter each digit manually. So in Storyline, I can imagine a similar underuse of text styles. Styles were not even available until a few versions ago, and it's just more exciting to focus on the visual and audio aspects, not to mention AI, which is mentioned very often in this day and age, which is all the more reason to make full use of styles, because that will save you a lot of time that can then be lavished on the visual and audio aspects. So To answer the question from the Kaiser Permanente manager, I will share my screen once again. Why use styles? Styles are used to format the different ways in which text is used in storyline. Slide titles, headings, body text, bullet text, and so on. Format once, use it over and over again with a mere click of a mouse, never again having to manually format a block of text. And even better, if well into a project, the type, style, or font needs to be changed throughout, without styles would mean better get another cup of coffee, because this is going to take the rest of the afternoon as you manually reformat every single slide. But with styles, if you just change the style, that will magically be replaced in every single style. So let's take a look at the project we had going. And we'll just rough in some text here so we can see what we're doing. Going up to the Insert tab, going over to Text Box, create a little box. Whoops. Text box. Come on, let's have a text box. Okay, I'm going to press equal lorem, Lorem, open parens, and then get 3 paragraphs and close parens. So now we have a bunch of text here. I'll break this up so we have something that's more the size of a heading. And then I will copy this. Well, let's do this first. Let's first demonstrate headings up here, thus demonstrate styles. Up here where it says normal text, drop that down, and you'll see that there are a number of styles already provided for you. So that's obviously heading 1, this is heading 2, and this is heading 3. But before I get too far into this, let me go over and introduce something that is related in a little bit higher level here. On the Design tab, I'm clicking Design here and going over onto the far right, we see themes. We have color themes and font themes. If we click the downward arrow on the themes, you have dozens of different font themes from which you can choose here. And these have exciting names like Trek and Urban and Verve. And if you don't particularly care for any of those, or maybe you need to match the corporate style guide or something, you can also create your own new theme fonts. So we're going to do that, and we will, or I will, select something pretty outlandish here, just so we can see what we have done here. Whoops. Okay, let's get a really ridiculous looking, oh, Rockwell Extra Bold. That looks pretty ridiculous. It was pretty ridiculous having this thing get larger and smaller. In body text, we'll do something that is pretty silly. We'll just put a text looking thing here. So now Palace, okay, click Save. And then look what happened. On every, well, I didn't duplicate this, but this has changed the type styles. Let me copy this and put it in the other 2 things. And now we will go back to the Home tab and take a look at the text styles. You have several here. Oops, have to click something before we do anything different with it. Put this up a little bit higher here. And probably want more styles than what we have here. So Articulate makes it possible to add additional styles here. You may want to add something like captions or footnotes or callouts or instructions or whatever. And let's just do this. We will, how about adding a caption here? We'll go to Insert, do a caption, something like this, and create, just put some garbage text in here. We'll click to create a different font, go to the home text, put in, what do we do here? something a little bit, well, let's make that Algerian. That's interesting. Jump it up to maybe 18 points, and let's make that nice bright yellow. That yellow? That doesn't look yellow. Okay, now all we have to do is go over here to the styles, go down here to add style, and let's just call that balloon text. Now we can take this one step further if we right click this, and first we have to get rid of the ants, make sure we're selecting the object rather than the content. Right click, and down here we see should be able to set as default shape. So we set default shape there. So now whenever we add another insert, let's go over to captions, and we enter a caption here, enter that, and this has the same balloon style to it. And now if for some strange reason we wanted to add that to a different, I'm clicking the home tab here, going to normal text and click balloons. Now any place that we want to apply that style, we are able to do that with a click of the mouse. And we can apply that. If we want to change, if later into the project, the client comes back to you and says, oh, we need to get a different type style here. All you have to do, you could either change the styles here, or you could go over to, I'm clicking the design tab, going back to fonts here, and let's just grab something that's a little bit more normal. And now we see that this is changed on each and every slide. We now have a different type style. Now, one thing that is frustrating about this is I'm going to create some a bullet list here. Okay, on the Home tab, I'm going up to Bullet, clicking Bullet. And now let's make that a little bit larger so we can see it. Put an interesting bullet on that. Those are nice. Now I can create a bullet style, right? Add style, bullets. All right. Now one would think if you go to a different place and select that and click bullets, you would create a bullet list. But no, yes, you have the correct type, style, font, size, and color, but it did not put the bullets in there. So this is something to be aware of, and I hope and avoid that frustration. Any questions so far on what I put together?
No, so I'm just like trying to look like the hierarchy of what you did. So the styles are can be font and size, but then you can override it with the themes, right? Is that what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Okay.
Exactly.
I use the themes a lot.
Mhm.
I neglect that
Yeah,
that style.
the thing about the themes here is never manually format, because once you manually format something, that overrides the theme.
Yeah.
And then if you change the theme, what you manually formatted will not update as you would like it to. And another caveat in here. Do not change the type style. Typically, you would, and it's really best practice. You want to be consistent with your styles. So it would be best to just stick with the two styles that you have selected in the box in the theme. Stay with that. So any questions? That pretty much wraps up what I had to say. No, I have one more topic here. Okay, you're probably familiar with down here we have notes, and now we have a black area down here, so it's a little difficult to see things. The reason that this is black is because it's controlled. Well, let me first go up here and show you that there is a completely different set of styles here for the notes. And you're able to add styles. Let's just call that body. And we will pump that up to a very large style. Okay. And then go up here to body. Click the little arrow going out to the right and say update from selection. Now, the reason this is black is hidden away in the player. So let's go up to the player and take a look at this. Hello, player. Okay, if we click colors and effects, we will see that we don't have many options. We have a dark, we have a light, and we have a custom. So if we select light and click OK, as if by magic, look at this. Now the notes are white. So our only options are black, white, and you can also do the custom color here. But I typically select a darker color for my custom color, which gives us a dark color here. So good news is you now have as many different styles as you want to create here for your notes. Yeah, there we go. There's a heading 1, there's a heading 2, heading 3. You can knock yourself out. But it's going to be on this background. And I find it a little bit difficult for a lot of text to be reversed out of a dark background on white. But that is what we have. Okay, any questions about the note styles or lamenting? Okay, well, let's get wrapped up here then. Oh, and by the way, the note style is new and improved in February. That is when that was added. So good news is you have a separate set of styles for notes. Bad news is the background is controlled by the player and not very well controlled. So next month, April 18th, Jody is going to be here and Jody is going to be talking. So we are, I'm very pleased by that. Jody, thank you for agreeing to do that. Look forward to it. Would you like to say hi?
Yeah, me?
Give a preview. Let's see.
Yeah. What I think I'm going to do is it'll be more like a technical demo. There's an e-learning challenge coming up. I understand, at least how I interpreted the little breadcrumbs that are being left, that it's on variables, and they're asking you to use all 3 different types of variables in a single project. So I'm guessing it's a text variable, a number variable, and a true-false variable.
That would be the 3 types, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's random number or a regular number, probably doesn't matter. But I have a concept that I've been just playing around with that I think I'll use for that. And it's got cupcakes in it. So it's something just kind of fun and, just something to amuse myself. And it's got like an AI component to it. Like the way I've been using AI is kind of, I work by myself all the time. So I use Chat GPT and AI is like a brainstorming partner because it's usually just me. And like I get stuck and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like the AI is like my cube mate on the other side of the cube. So it's
Yeah.
got like I'll just show like how I use it. I don't it's not like it's not quite like the demo that Kevin did last time, I think, where it's all these new tools, but just how I used it. And I
Right.
think if I have time, then I'll do the dial variable, that we just did. That's also got like a little, I was been having fun with AI, just trying to get better with my prompting and how that all works. So,
Oh, well, in this
but
day
yeah,
and
I got to think
age,
about it. Yeah.
anything AI is a hot topic. So looking forward to hearing that. And
Yeah. Yeah, I just use it because, like I said, I used to work in a big office where I had 10 people. I could say, hey, how do you do this? Or what do you think of this? Now I'm all sitting all by myself. It's replaced out it's like my SOS, like when I get stuck on something or when I don't feel creative, I just use that and I'll get something I can use out of it. So,
well,
okay.
that's what these workshops are for, so we can
Yeah.
ask each other what's going on. I just wanted to point out that with us this evening is
Mhm.
Daniel Canaveral
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
Kevin Jorgensen, who have been
Mhm.
guest presenters in the past.
Yeah.
So I am really pleased that you joined us. And Thaddeus bailed out a little bit earlier, but
Mhm.
stand by. I think
Yeah.
Thaddeus is going to be speaking to us in November. So we have a
Mhm.
good year of workshops lined up here. Any questions or comments before I
No,
say
I
good
thank you
night?
for like reminding me of this text styles. Like I said, I'm pretty good. I use a theme in every project, but I don't really use that other feature. And
Mhm.
I have a project coming up and I'm going to make myself use it. So, it's good to know like all those tools and I never used them in PowerPoint either and probably wasted a lot of time, but I get paid by
Yeah.
the hour now, so I don't care.
Well, that that's just it takes a certain amount of discipline to
Yeah.
oh gee, I'm in a hurry, I want to just get going.
Yeah.
No, take a few
Yeah.
minutes to set up the
Yeah.
styles, and that will save you hours later as you're doing the presentation, and it's consistent. And as I said earlier, if you oh gee, I need to change the color or the size, you can do that with a click of a mouse, and the whole
I
thing
mean,
gets
like,
updated.
yeah, the font themes I always like because I'm fussy about my fonts and my clients are fussy about their fonts. So that's like I don't even, that's the first thing I do is like,
Mhm.
what are my colors in there and what are my, what font am I going to use? And am I going to use usually like sans serif is like I'm a sans serif snob, but I never use the styles. So I'm gonna make sure by the time I see you in April, I will have done it. So I'll report back on it.
Well, good. Well,
So
let me ask you, the practice I generally follow is that sans serif for the screen, serif
mhm.
for the page for
That's
paper. Is
Yep.
that what you follow?
Yeah, like I have a lot of stuff that's work for insurance companies and they have like a lot of like really like dense things that they just have to read it. And the people
Right.
who go into that field know they're going to have a lot to read, or lawyers, like they know they like to read. That's why they're good at what they do and they're good at writing. So
It's a
yeah,
reading job. Yes.
yeah.
There's some
So
recent research on serifs versus non-serif or sans serifs,
mhm,
and that traditionally it was thought that a serif font is
mhm,
best used in long form text like novels, books, things like that, because it's easier and quicker to read across.
Oh yeah.
While a sans serif is better
mhm,
for something like presentations and
yeah.
smaller text formats. But they've done some recent experimentation with how the font impacts learning and retainment of information, and they found it was a negligible difference,
Mm,
very
okay.
negligible.
Oh.
It mostly comes down to preference more than anything else, personal preference of the learner, with a few exceptions.
Well,
But
the
typically
good
it's
thing about that is now you don't have to argue with your graphic designer anymore.
yeah. Oh, there's
So
always room for argument. Always
yeah,
room for
like
argument.
I hate serif. So like we're only doing sans serif, so now it's like we don't have to argue anymore about it. Everybody's right.
Well, typically, will you choose more than two fonts, the headline font and the body font, or
Me,
type style? Yeah.
I only use two.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much a
Yeah.
best practice
Very
to keep things
Yeah.
Very rarely will I use 3, but mostly 2. And 3 is only when there is a what's called a display font, like a logo font or something that is specifically branded. Then you would use a different font for that. But otherwise, 2 fonts within the same kind of family, I very rarely would use a serif and a sans serif together. And with it, one other exception is I use Courier fonts whenever I am indicating on screen or input text, like code text. That's a point in which I would use a 3rd font, possibly a 4th font, depending on how many things are being covered. And then or other anthropological devices, such as indicating oh gosh, what was something else? Like quotes sometimes. Normally I do that italicized, but there's a few reasons why you may want to extend out your typefaces and fonts, but typically 2 is the best thing to do.
Yeah, make it look like a typewriter. Sure, I remember typewriters.
Pica print.
I wanted to give a notice to everybody, let everybody know, ChatGPT, we just talked a little bit about AI. ChatGPT 4.0 is now free.
It's free?
In Copilot. Copilot. So if you access, if Bing is your main or if you make Bing your main search engine as opposed to Google or whatever one you normally use, there is a Copilot function in there that has all the same capabilities of ChatGPT 4.0.
Oh, that's great, because I upgraded after your session last time, so now I already paid.
I might be downgrading too. I'd still have the upgrade, but that might be $20 a month going to waste because it's now free. I'm still doing, because the Microsoft version of ChatGPT is a little different, but it's very similar.
I'm getting so used to just going to ChatGPT, and thank you for talking about upgrading, because I didn't realize it had so many more access to other tools in there. So that was really fun exploring all that, even though I don't know what to do with half of them.
Kevin,
more than half of them. 80% of them, I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, I get overwhelmed with all of these fonts, but I remember some time ago I saw that there were Asian fonts in there, so I just deleted them. And then every time I wanted to use a font, I would get this error message saying that this font has disappeared. Do you want to correct it? And so now I just leave all the fonts in place and ignore them. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Erwin, for keeping things going here. And Daniel, thank you. Chris, I certainly appreciate seeing you again. Rebecca, thank you for joining us. And Steve and Vince, I appreciate you coming along on this journey. So unless there are further questions or comments.
I just saw Rebecca's dyslexia. What is that, Rebecca, that you loaded for us?
Oh, it's a font for dyslexics. So yeah, just in case
it was an AI tool.
No, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't open that link.
Yeah, it's not opening for me either. It just keeps loading.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, if you maybe if you just Google dyslexia, I think it autocorrected to dyslexia, but it's just
dyslexia is what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay, dyslexia. Okay.
Shout out to Kevin last presentation. So last talk about your AI, I've now changed to using 11 Labs instead of doing the voiceovers myself. So that's to save me a lot of time. I used to cringe every time I have to update a course because I have to go to my second bedroom, put up blankets just to make sure I get good reverb or lack of reverb and then re-record it. But now with 11 Labs, I can just
Did you clone your voice?
I tried that. It didn't work as well for me. So I just defaulted now to doing text to speech. But I do feel like you have to generate it 2 or 3 times to get it to say the things in the cadence and the emotion that you want.
Yeah, definitely do small increments of text and try to put them together afterwards. I help find if you do too long of a text in there, it could mess it up, and you'll lose a lot of credits that way, because you have to redo the whole thing. But I will frequently, whenever the text does not work, the text to speech doesn't work, it's not getting the correct pronunciations correctly or the correct emphasis, I go straight to speech, even if it's my own voice. Even if I'm doing speech to speech in my own voice, it then maintains audio consistency. And that's really important. Then I don't have to, I can just do it here at my table with the fan on and traffic, and it still sounds okay. Yeah, it's great to hear that you're using that. I just got my company, or my employer, to buy four licenses for our whole team, because they love it so much as well. So I'm glad to hear that you're using it, and it's getting better every day too. As they say about AI technology, it's the worst it'll ever be right now.
Yeah,
That's
hold
pretty
on.
scary.
Buckle up. Here we go. Okay, well, good night, everybody. Thank you
Okay,
for
thank you. Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Thanks,
for
John.
participating.